The Rambam says in Hilchos Talmud Torah, Kishem Talmidim Chayavim B'Chvod Harav. Just like Talmidim students are chayiv to honor, to respect their Rebbe. Kach Harav Tzarech Lechabed as Talmidav Ulekarvan. So too, the Rebbe has to be mechabed, has to be respectful, to honor his Talmidim Ulekarvam, and to be mekarev them with warmth, bring them close. Kach Amru Chachamim Yehekvoi Talmidcha Chavev Alecha Kishalcha. We're learning now Avis Perek Daled Pasuk Yud Beis. The kavod of your Talmidim, the respect, the honor of your Talmidim should be more beloved to you than your own. B'tzarech Adam lizaher b'Talmidav ula'ayavon. And he says it again. You have to be careful with your Talmidim and to love them. Shehem abanim hamahanim la'olam hazeh ula'olam haba. These are the children that you're going to gain from and enjoy in this world and the next world. Now, we grew up, this was missing. Kavod for a child? I have to mechabed a child? He's not talking about standing up for you when the fourth grader walks into the room. He's talking about treating you like a human being with respect that's due to a human being. And someone who doesn't do that cannot be a teacher, and it's a beferish Rambam. There is never an excuse to be mavaza, to make a kid feel bad. You can't build somebody up by breaking them down, not rabbeim, not parents. When you break your child, when you break the student, they become broken. You can't raise, you can't build. Look, all the stories of tzaddikim, they found a way to make the one who was struggling get better. Now, who is he talking about? You have to be mechabed your talmidim and be mekarev them and watch out for their respect. He's not talking about the 4 good kids in the class, because that's easy. Every Rebbe's pride and joy. Of course you're going to be mechabed them. Why not? And he says, beware. And who is he saying beware? He's saying those 4 troublemakers in the back who don't listen, who are struggling, and they have stamped with all kinds of mental illness diagnosis and learning disabilities. Tzarech Adam lihizaher. You beware with your Talmidim ul'ayavon. Make sure you love them. Incredible Rambam. What if you can't? What if you can't? Rav Zilbershtein says in Aleinu L'Shabeach, Parshas Dvarim, Chelik Beis, page 195. Tzarech kol melamed tinoikos b'doreinu lodas. Every teacher in our generation needs to know. Shechayv zu mutelas al ksafav yoysim mikol davar acher. This chayv, this responsibility, is on your shoulders more than anything else. Lahavi es hayeled lematzav shel simcha b'Torah. Your job before you teach the curriculum, you have to bring the child to a matzav, to a situation of feeling simcha b'Torah. You can't do that with punishments and put downs and control and all that. You have to bring them to, they feel a simcha of learning joy in Torah. V'im hu einu yachal asay zos. And if he says, I can't do it. I can't do it. This kid, he comes in, he's terrible, he's horrible, and you find that you can't do it. Kedai, it's worthwhile. Sheyaniach as hamiktzaya ha'achroi hazeh l'toivim imenu. You should leave this important job to those that are better than you. That's what he says. You're talking about lives. This is not something that you can do 70%. Right? I always say, you could become a mashgiach. You can if you throw out a chicken that's supposed to be kosher, so you just damage the chicken. But don't mess up our kids. If you don't know how to do this, just get a different profession. In every other profession, you're not a good salesman, you make less sales. No, okay, you make less sales, you make less money. Over here, you're damaging people right and left. Kids are damaged. People are damaged 20, 30 years later. People have horror stories and they're damaged, their self-esteem is destroyed, and they can't study properly or do something properly. We had over here a very chashuv tzaddik. And I don't want to say his name, but those of you who were here, you heard the story. His father survived the Holocaust. And he became one of the leaders in Klal Yisrael, and he was a big Talmud Chacham, a famous person, wrote Svarim, many Svarim, and was mekarev many, many people. And he told his son that when I was a kid, before the war, I got punished a lot by Birchas Hamazon, by benching. And he says, now I learn 10, 12 hours a day, I give shiurim, everything. He says, I can't connect to benching. I can't connect. I can't concentrate. I can't get through it. For an adult who went through the Holocaust to admit something like that, his father broke his finger. His father broke his connection to benching. People break their children forever. And he's a gadol, and he was a grandfather and a great-grandfather at that time. He was here at the crisis center. And he was mechazek us, and he's strong, and he went through and he survived, and you hear all his stories, and he could do everything, but the pain from his parent, and it could be from a Rebbe, can last forever. Isn't that an unbelievable achrayus? So he says, it's a huge achrayus before you take this job. If you can't do this, kedayu sheyaniach es hamektsaya ha'achroi hazeh l'toivim mimenu. Let somebody else have it. Now, interesting, I said that you should become a shaykhet. But look up the story by the Baal Shem Tov about a famous tzaddik who had to come back as a gilgul because he paskined on a chicken that it was treif when it was kosher. And he had to come back, and he came back, so he shouldn't have any, he didn't want to have to sin. So he came back as a mute, and by 13 years old, when he was 13, the Baal Shem Tov told him to come, to make a bracha. I forgot, a shahakal, or maybe a bracha on a chicken, I don't remember the story. And it was a famous pasuk, it's a famous story. And that was his tikkun. He needed to go ahead and apologize to a chicken. Even on a chicken. What do you do when you have a Jewish kid? There's no passport. There's no diplomatic immunity in Shemayim. You embarrass this girl. You embarrass this boy. Well, I'm a teacher. There's no diplomatic immunity. Adarabba. Because you're a teacher and they could only learn with love, you have to figure out how to love every single kid. And I'm a pretty loving guy, but I can't love some of these rotten kids, you know? I would not be able to teach. You see, these kids say, this one I can love. This guy's a nice kid. That kid, you know, I have a lot of examples that I'm not going to say. How could you love every kid in a class? He says, if you can't do it, find a more loving person. This professional, important thing, give it over to somebody else. Become a plumber. You don't have to like sewage. Right? You could become a plumber. You could become lots of stuff. Become an accountant. You mess up somebody's taxes. No. They'll also fire you. But don't mess up kids. You can't mess with kids. And kids remember stuff. And kids, they may not remember what you say, but they remember how you made them feel. You make a kid feel like he's bad. And sometimes we do it on these little kids who are 4 years old. You know, and as adults, most of us would not tolerate that. If your Rav of your shul made you feel that way, you would leave the shul. You would drop out of that shul. And these kids are stuck, and some people just make them feel bad. Rav Pam says it's oinoas tevarim. It's an avera. He said he heard a mother. I sent out the clip. He said he heard a mother in a store call her child. He said, "You're a bad boy." He said, "You're not allowed to say that. Say you did a bad thing. Don't say you are a bad boy." That's how careful we need to be. Not to give labels. We see that in the Torah. Yaakov Avinu said to Shimon and Levi, Apam, your anger is cursed. You're not cursed. You have an anger problem. Go to anger management classes. You messed up. You made a mistake. But he didn't curse them. He said, your anger is cursed. You're not a bad boy. You're not bad. You did a bad thing. You did something not right. The Nesiv Shalom says, how sensitive do you need to be to children? He says, you're not allowed to tell a child, let's say a kid's in your office or wherever, whatever room. He's in your study and you have a chashuv a guest. So what do you say? Could you leave the room? He says, you're not allowed to say that. He said, would you mind going to the other room? Could you please go to the other room? And I was thinking about this. I'm like, wow. Like how sensitive. You don't tell somebody, leave the room. You say, could you go to the other room? What's the difference? Difference is, would you tell your boss, could you leave the room? You would say, would you mind going to the other room? Treat your children like a mensch. They're not chess pieces that you move around and that you get out. Some people talk to the kids, get out of here. I don't want to see you. All this kind of stuff, where does it come from? And it bites you. It bites you because you're raising kids who will talk like that to you one day. It's horrible. Or they're very sensitive and they won't talk to you at all. Right? Either they're going to talk rough to you, or they're just going to say, get out of my life. I can't take this. People go to therapy now for 50 years. You know, there's a story of these 3 old ladies. They're 99 years old, and they all turned 100 the same day. And they're all schmoozing with each other. And lady number 1 says, you know, my son is the best son in the whole world. For my 100th birthday, you know what he got me? He got me a limousine. Everyone said, wow. The second one goes, that's nothing. My son, for my 100th birthday, he got me an apartment with 2 helpers and cleaners in Florida on a condo on the top floor penthouse. The third one says, that's nothing. My son told me that every week he goes to therapy 2 times a week, and all he talks about is me. Right? Don't give your kids stuff to talk about in therapy. Make a mistake, apologize for it, but learn the rules of engagement. And if you're getting upset, you're getting angry, you're getting frustrated, take a break, tap out, say, you know what, I need a day off. Now, I'm not actually telling you to leave them alone for a day, saying you'll deal with this issue a different time.